Halloween was last week, and for many of us, I'm sure that meant dressing up. Or if not, I'm sure you guys have dressed up in the past, maybe as superheroes, pets, that'd be weird, demons. Sorry, I'm a little tired right now. Well, today I'm going to tell you about the inspiration for my 7th grade Halloween costume and my personal favorite, Mary Curie. If you guys don't know already, she was the laureate of 2 Nobel Peace Prizes and the first woman to win any, and the first person to win 2. She discovered polonium and radium, and was just overall really, really cool. So today I'm going to tell you about her early life, where she came from, her life's work, and how the impact it's having today on modern oncology, and the impact it has, her work and her life has had on gender equality in STEM. All right, so first off, Marie Curie. All right. So first of all, Marie Curie was a devout patriot of her home country, Poland. She always felt very, very connected and was devastated when she was no longer able to pursue her education in Poland and instead had to move to Paris and instead studied at Sorbonne. She got her degree in physics and math, and then eventually her PhD in physics, which was a huge feat for women in STEM at that time. No other women had done it, and outside of a religious institution, and so that was like a huge step forward for women and so on. After her husband passed away, she took his position as the head of the physics department at the Sorbonne, which, again, was just a huge feat. It hadn't been done before. All right, so let's talk about her work a little bit. That's sad. All right, so she discovered radium, which, along with her husband, Pierre and Henry Becquerel, which is essential to in modern diagnostics and treatments today of cancer. And according to Andrew Kulikowski's article about Marie Curie's contributions to development of modern oncology, after the discovery of radium, the clinical applications of radioactive substances were undertaken very soon. And in fact, in 1899, the first case of malignant tumors, the cure, using radioactive substances was documented. And to go along with that, a field of radiotherapy, specifically for the treatment of cancer, is brachytherapy, which uses a radioactive source directly in contact with tissues of tumors, and it's most effective in lung and esophageal cancer. And so that's used today with missionaries today in like hospitals and things like that. And that was only made possible because of her work. Another example is nuclear medicine, which uses radioisotopes for tumor imaging, which is another essential and imperative tool in diagnosing tumors and other diseases. And that's really fascinating too, actually, because that work was able to be continued only after World War II, but it was her daughter, Irene, who actually continued that work and her mother's work. And her daughter was also laureate of the Nobel Peace Prize. So Marie Curie, she did a lot of cool things. She discovered these elements, and it's been so helpful in modern oncology. But she was also really, really respected in her field as a person. This is exemplified in her work in World War I, when her work had to be put on hold because of the turmoil going on. So she put her work away because it was too delicate, and she was like, "Hey, I gotta help in this war effort." And so what she did was, there was this really cool piece of technology that had just been invented, the X-ray, invented by Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen. And according to a Ross Goland 1945 journal article, She actually raised money, and she put these X-rays in cars, and she drove around the front lines of World War I, having trained a bunch of nurses and doctors to use them, and she actually treated soldiers on the front line of World War I. And she operated themselves. I had a picture of her actually driving one of these things and driving.
Flip it around and you can show us.
It wasn't going on my screen. I think it's my computer.
Okay.
Yeah. It's flipping out. Okay. Sorry. Anyways, yeah, so it was used to be able to track bullets, and even though it was in its early development, it was still really awesome. All right, so the last thing I want to talk to you guys about today was just the impact that she's had on women in STEM. So according to the Gender and Science 2011 journal article, she paved the way for women to start entering the field. She was the head of the department and one of the first women to be held in such high esteem for her work and achievements. Even today, women are fighting to be more equally represented. I had a graph actually from the U.S. Census Bureau that showed just how disproportionately women are represented in STEM, and this is also despite the fact that women outperform men educationally and academically, and also in STEM, and also earn more doctorate degrees. So her passion. I first found out about Marie Curie when I was in 7th grade, actually, and this was a really exciting time for me because it was the first time I was figuring out, hey, I like the science thing, and so for me to see this woman who was had everything against her, so much oppression, and everyone was just you can't do that, you're a girl. It was really cool for me to be hey, if she could do that, then maybe I can too. And so, here I am today, majoring in bio, and I think it's really awesome. So yeah, and so basically just to conclude today, today I talked to you guys about her early life, where she came from. She came from Poland, was a devout patriot, always wanted to go back, but because of her passions and her research, she found it necessary to go to Paris, where she continued her research. Her work included the discovery of radium and polonium, which has major implications for today's medicine and technology and oncology. And finally, just her life and her existence had a major societal impacts on women in STEM and me personally. So I hope you guys can kind of take away, see somebody just like that, kind of the takeaway that I had when I first learned about her. Even if you have so much against you, if you have enough passion and enough, if you love something enough, then maybe you can achieve, I don't know, just be as awesome as she can, basically. All right, so yeah, that was why Marie Curie's my hero. So.